All right, we have one more page of practice for these notes. The first question says, which slope below is perpendicular to the slope, or to the slope of 4x plus 7y equals 18? So first of all, this is written in standard form. I know I have A, B, and C. If I know that I need a slope perpendicular to this one, first of all, I gotta find this slope in the first place. So slope of standard form is negative A over B. So I have a negative 4 over 7. That does not reduce, so that is the slope. But I need to change it to be perpendicular. Don't forget, if I were just looking for this slope again, I would be finding something parallel. Perpendicular is completely flipped, completely opposite. What happens is it flips, first of all. It also, if something was a negative, now this is a positive. It gets the opposite sign, which this is called an opposite reciprocal. First of all, opposite because this is negative, this is positive. Reciprocal because it flips. Opposite reciprocal, completely opposite. That is what perpendicular slopes do. So let's go find a slope that looks like this. All right, so this is what we're looking for. First of all, if I know that this is ax plus by equals c, I can take the negative a over b version of this stuff, which is a negative 7 over 4. Negative 7 over 4 looks super close to this, but it's not, so that is the wrong answer. All right, everything else you can kind of figure out yourself. On this one, I want to see how you do. This one says, write which equation of a line is perpendicular, again, opposite reciprocal. If it said parallel, that'd be the same slope, but perpendicular, opposite reciprocal, to y equals 2x plus 9, and also goes to the point 8 and 5. All right, first of all, here's our slope. If I need to make a perpendicular slope to this, I have to flip it. Well, if it's not over something, I put it over 1. So if I'm flipping it, 1 over 2, that's great, but it also has to be the opposite sign. So if this is a positive, this is a negative. I am now looking for something with a negative slope. Right off the bat, I can eliminate A because that is positive 1/2, not negative 1/2 like I need it to be. I can then look for my slopes in these. Remember that this is ax plus by equals c. And I can tell that this is a 1 right here. So that is a negative 1 over 2, which is exactly what we were looking for. Both of these will have the same slope because they have the exact same numbers in the A and the B spot. So both of these have a negative 1/2 slope, which probably means that this one's not going to. That was a negative 2 over a negative 1, which is a positive 2. This slope was parallel to that, but we were not looking for parallel, we were looking for perpendicular. So we're choosing from B and C. The next thing we know is it has to go through 8, 5. There's a few different ways to do this. We've talked about them on the last pages. You could either plug in 8, 5 to both of these equations to see which one works. That is totally fine. You could write the 8, 5. You could actually draw it out if you wanted to see which one works. But my best bet would be plugging in the 8, 5 into the equations, as in like the x is 8, the 5 is the y. So plug them in, see which one works. Kind of like we did on the question that looked like this on the last page. Right? We were plugging those x and y values into the equation to see which one is correct. All right, let's move on to number 15. Write an equation to a line that's parallel to the line below and goes through negative 4 and negative 3. Well, first of all, we got to figure out the slope. So parallel lines will have the same slope. Looks like we're going down 2 over 1, so we have a negative 2 slope. If it is going through negative 4, 3, that would be negative 4, 3 here. And if it is a negative 2 slope, I can myself just draw a slope down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, until I hit my y-axis. When I hit my y-axis, I have my y-intercept, which means I can write my stuff in y equals mx plus b form right here. That is what you're going to do from then on. All right, this one, it looks a little tricky. This is actually one of those parent function questions. This says the graph of the linear function f, which is here, and g, which is here, are shown on the grid below. Circle the function. Circle which function is best represented by graph g. So we're trying to find g of x. Remember, f of x just means y. And whenever it says g of x and it has f of x in the same equation, that's just trying to show a transformation. So remember our parent function. Remember f of x, where it has a y-intercept of 0 and a slope of 1. Whenever it has a y-intercept of 0 and a slope of 1, you have a y equals x. Remember, that's the parent function. If this graph was changed by some number, maybe it was the slope, maybe it was the y-intercept, how did it change? How did it take this original function and it change it? Well, first of all, it did not change the y-intercept. It does not change the y-intercept, which means it does not take the f of x and add a number outside or subtract a number outside like a y-intercept would have been. We do not have a y-intercept of -4. We do not have a y-intercept of -2. So these answers are incorrect. What does happen, though, is our slope changes from 1 down to some other number. Don't know. It's not a negative number, but it's a less steep of a line, which means it's smaller than 1. So if I were looking for a slope value, it would be in front of x, like always, with usually a number and an x, which is the slope. And this time, it just so happens to say 3 times the version of y equals f, the version of our f of x line, or 1/3 the version of our f of x line. All right, that's kind of what that is saying here. I want you to choose out of these two. Do we have 3 times the version, which means is our slope upping to 3, or is our slope kind of getting smaller and going to 1/3? You tell me. All right. The next one, it says, which set is not a function? Remember, if it is not a function, x's repeat. So let's look to see. We have 2, 3, 8, 4. Those repeat. None of those repeat. That is a good function. -3, 3, -4, 33. Ooh, they're trying to trick you. That is a function also. 2, -9, 2, -7. Oh my gosh, 2 2s. That's the one that's probably at 0, -1, -2, -3. And that's the bell, so I have to hurry and finish. First of all, this one says, a baker determined the annual profit in dollars from pies. P of n equals 52n minus 6. Where n is the number of pies sold, what is the annual profit of the baker if the baker sells 400 pies? So if 400 pies was literally n, it says n is the number of pies sold, we could take this equation and insert 400 right there where the n is and solve. 52 times 400 minus 6. What is the answer? Whatever the answer is, that is literally the answer. That's how these work. See, we have p of n, f of x. This is kind of what's happening here. This says g of x equals all this stuff right here. And then what is g of 11? Anytime they replace the x with a number, we replace the x with a number also. So I would take this equation and insert an 11 where I see x. Then I can type this into my calculator and get my answer. The next thing will work the same way. I have what is f of -7. So if I replace the -7 where the x is, I would find the answer.